my lovely floss tube friends, hope you're all well and having a good day. Today is Friday the 7th of August. It's Friday night, and this is what I'm doing on my Friday night. What fun. My husband's off out to the gym. My daughter has gone round to her boyfriend's, which leaves me. And the one thing that I've noticed this week specifically is that I seem to be getting very, very behind on watching my floss tube. So for all of those people that have been posting your floss tube videos, and then sort of 2 weeks later you've had a response from me, I do apologise. It's just that it's been a little bit tricky with timing. It's finding the time to watch floss tube, to do the comments, to work. You know, everyday life really is getting in the way now. I'm really not liking this, having to go to work, and I want to be a house mummy. Well, actually no, I wouldn't want to be a house mummy either. I just want to be a kept woman. That's what I want to be, a kept woman, so I can just sit at home and stitch all day and have a house cleaner, and not go to work. But that isn't my life. So my life is working now. So obviously now that I've started to do some work, I'm working from home. I'm going back into the office for the first time on Monday. So it's a phased return. I'm not just going straight in every day. But obviously just working at home and not, you know, working all day has made it quite real. That all the time that I had to watch floss tube and to do my own stitching and to, you know, keep tabs on making sure that I'm commenting on people's videos, it's really hard to keep up. You know, this community is growing, and it's growing fast because there's a lot of you out there now. So yeah, so for all of those that have posted videos and either I haven't commented or I have commented, but it's like 2 weeks after you've done the video, I'm so sorry. It's not intentional, and I do mean that. Hold that thought. Okay. So as I'm so behind on everything, I basically tried to play a bit of catch up yesterday. So I have been watching a lot of floss tube videos, and been making some comments on them over the last couple of days. And in that, I've noticed that there's a lot of tags that I seem to have skipped, missed, not seen, and definitely not done. So I wanted to basically spend my time tonight doing some of the tags. So yeah, so here we go. So this is the video for you guys when you're stitching and you just want to listen to someone rambling on. This is it. So I must admit I thoroughly enjoyed Letitia's video. Hi Letitia. Where she was stitching and doing tags, and it was so good because I love those types of videos so that I can just continue stitching but listening and chuckle along with her and completely agree. You know, you're sitting there having like a conversation with a stitchy buddy that's actually on the screen, but you can still do your own stitching. So this is one of those videos, but obviously you don't get to see me stitch, you get to sort of look at my ugly mush. So anyway, to the tags. So today's tag, well, I'm going to see how far I get. It really depends on the questions. So first one up, I think, is the catcrazycreations, the joy of cross stitch tag. So number one, how did you learn to stitch? That, my friends, is all your fault. So you are named and shamed, and you are to blame. So I learned to stitch from floss tube. You are my teachers, you are my mentors, my enablers. Yeah, utterly your fault, all of you. I had never seen cross stitch. I didn't know anyone that cross stitched. I didn't even know what the fabric was called. And then I went on YouTube one day and was just messing around looking at stuff, and that was when I saw it. And there was some tutorial videos that people had done, And you know, I went onto Google afterwards and tried to look it up on Google, and although it gives you like a clear outline in writing how you cross stitch, and they've got like little diagrams and bits and pieces, I could have sat there and looked at those till I was blue in the face, but without actually having any concept as to what cross stitching was and how you do it. I could have read it over and over and over again, and it still didn't make any sense. But by watching the floss tube videos and those people that done the tutorials and the cross stitch beginner bits, they were the videos where when you sit and you watch someone do it whilst you're sitting there with your little bit of fabric and your thread, it's like, oh, it all makes sense now. I completely get it. So yeah, so I learnt to cross stitch through floss tube. So thank you. That'll be you lot. You're my teachers. Number 2, have you ever taught anyone to stitch? Wouldn't say I've taught anyone to stitch. I have been showing my little nephew how to stitch. He came round and was like, whoa, Teresa, what are you doing? He's such a cool little dude. I was like, I'm cross stitching. So anyway, I showed him and he was like, oh, I'd like to do that. So obviously we looked through some of the cross stitch magazine that I do have, and he see a little cap and he was like, oh, I'd like to do a little cap for my mum. So now he's got a little bag with his little stash. So he's got the magazine, he's got a little bit of Ada. I think I gave him 14 count Ada. So he's got some 14 count Ada, he's got a needle, and he's got some bobbinated floss. And I've got to be honest, considering that he's only like, what, 10 years old, I showed him how to do the loop start method from the front. He's nailed that, he's got that completely. And I showed him how to do sort of like you do one row with all your legs in one direction and then you come back the other way, and he completely gets it. And you know, I said to him, the only rules that really apply is that you always make sure your X's, you know, the lines of the X's, the legs of the X's go in the same direction. And yeah, he's doing fabulous. But I wouldn't say I've taught him as such, but I've showed him and he seems to be running with it really quite well. So number 3, when you stitch, do you like to watch TV, listen to music, or just have quiet? Well, I don't do quiet. I'm not quiet, so therefore quiet doesn't work. Listen to music. I personally don't sit and listen to music, but when you've got a 16-year-old daughter that likes to kick out a dubstep from her room, you know, I'm not adverse to a bit of dubstep, so sometimes I'll be listening to her dubstep. I don't really get a choice in the matter. But yeah, so that's about the only time I listen to music while stitch. I am mainly a TV stitcher, but I don't just watch random TV. I'm an old movie person, so I'm sorry, but I don't look like the sort of person that would watch old movies, but I'm, you know, give me an old movie any day and I'm yours forever. You know, my idea of a fabulous pyjama weekend is to just sit in front of the googly box with my popcorn, my animal slippers, and old movies. You know, give me Ginger Rogers, Fred Astaire, Doris Day, Audrey Hepburn, Gene Kelly. You know, give me any of them. I could sit there all day and watch that. You alright, Chest? Sorry, my doggy's having a little cough. So yeah, so definitely an old movie girl myself. You know, and I love musicals as well. So, you know, I mean, I think by far my favourite, and always has been, is The King and I. 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. What else? Mary Poppins, obviously, and various others. You know, things that had Doris Day in it, like, you know, Silvery Moon and you know, Singing in the Rain. Those types of things. Oh, I adore those. My husband cringes. He's just like, oh no, please. And I'm just like, well, if you don't like it, leave the house. It's my TV time, and I like watching this. I mean, I love westerns as well. So, you know, if it's got John Wayne, you know, I'll sit and watch those as well. But if it's an old movie, I'll watch it. So yeah. And the only other thing I do when I'm stitching is watch floss tube as well. So although I don't like to stitch and watch floss tube in the respect that when you're showing videos where there's haul and stash and charts and goodies, and I don't like to stitch with those ones because I tend to find that I spend more time staring at the iPad than I do actually doing any stitching, and I find that I get sort of zoned off onto what they're looking at. But I do love to do my stitching and listen to people talking. You know, if they're not showing stuff where it's going to make me look up, or they're doing tags and various other things, I tend to find that I love that, because I can continue stitching and I can, you know, nod and laugh, and it's almost like having a little stitchy buddy next to you. I mean, it's great because that way I'm still stitching, but I'm listening and I'm laughing, and I feel like I've got like a friend in the room. So I do love those videos. So all of you that do those videos, have been doing those videos, continue doing those videos. You know, I know a lot of you like videos where we're showing each other what we've got, but when I'm stitching, if you're showing me everything you've got, I'm not actually stitching, am I? I'm looking at your videos because I'm looking at all your lovely goodies and your lovely whips and your lovely finishes, and I'm not getting anything finished. So I love everything, but when I'm watching my floss tube, when I'm stitching, it has to be one of the ones where you're just saying about a tag and there's, you know, I'm not because I just can't miss out on anything. So, okay, number 4, when you use a kit, which company or companies do you like best? I can't answer this because I don't own a kit. I've never had a kit. I think I'm going to have to add that to my my by the end of the year things that I need to do, I need to learn. Because I've never done a kit, I have no idea which kits I'd like. And if I'm honest, I've never really seen a kit that I've looked at that I've gone, oh wow, yeah, I wouldn't mind that. And I find them quite intimidating as well, because it's a kit. 9 times out of 10 I don't necessarily, or won't like the fabric. So yeah, I can't really say because I've never done a kit. But I think I'm definitely going to have to do it. I know a lot of people have sort of said about the dimensions kits, but I'm a bit intimidated by them because a lot of people say, you know, oh, there's always back stitching and there's French knots and there's quarter stitches. I'm a comfort girl, and although you might sort of think, oh my God, Heaven and Earth Design, but I find Heaven and Earth Design is just, for me, that's my comfort zone. You know, it doesn't require any specialised anything, so it's just little X's, and if you get one in the wrong place, really doesn't matter. But yeah, I think I'm going to need to get some kits, maybe, I don't know, sort of 3 or 4 different kits and have a go at all of them. But I will not buy a kit, and I forewarn you on it, because I did buy one kit. That was how I first ever started, and that was before I'd even looked at floss tube. Don't even know the name of it, but all I knew was that when I got it home, it took me a day and a half to sort out the floss, because the floss was just all tied into a ball. It wasn't sorted on a card, you know, and there was colours. There was like 5 different blues. There was no way for me to tell what blue was the right one to mark it as, and I had to make my own little sort of floss holder to put it all on. Yeah, no, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. So if I do go with a kit, I'm going to have to make sure that whatever kits that I look at, they're sort of, you know, pre-sorted threads, fabrics that I might actually like to stitch on. I'm not a great lover of Ada, certainly not 14 count Ada. 18 count Ada, yeah. 16 count Ada, not a lover of. I've sort of been converted, I think, to like even weave and linen, or a much higher count of Ada. But yeah, I must do that, so that's something I'll do, and then I can answer the question. So number 5, what are your favourite designs to stitch? Well, if you'd have asked me this question 4 weeks ago, I would have known the answer straight away. Heaven and Earth Design, job done. I love Heaven and Earth Design. I love the fact that they're full coverage. I love the fact that they're just loads of little X's. But since I started my memorabilia, I have to be honest, although my comfort zone is the Heaven and Earth Design, I am thoroughly enjoying my memorabilia so far. I mean, I know I had a little hiccup and we had little trees of meltdown and I had a moment, but I'm over that moment thanks to D-Stitcher, and I've learnt a lot from it. I've learnt not to completely freak out and melt down when it goes wrong, because it will go wrong. there will be times that things will go wrong and I will need to know how to fix it. But that was just, I think I overwhelmed myself because of the cost of the materials for it, and I thought, that's it, I failed. You know, I didn't sort of allow myself time to think, okay, well, you haven't failed, but you have messed it up a little bit. You know, rethink. I just basically melted down. But I got past that, and now I'm absolutely in love with it again. So I'm stitching away like a mad woman, and I'm like, oh, I'm loving it, it's so good. And I think it was Garrett, Coffee Stitcher, when I was sort of saying about my reservations about doing a Mirabilia. You know, I think he hit the nail on the head with the fact that, no, it's not a heaven and earth design. But yes, it is just little X's. The only difference is on a heaven and earth design, it's full coverage and all the X's sit next to each other. And on a Mirabilia, they're a little bit more spaced out. And so far, he's right in what he said. You know, the only difference is that you can't really mess up your counting. You know, whereas on a heaven and earth, if you go wrong by a couple of squares, you know, it doesn't really notice. You can always pull it back quite easily without it sort of, because the blending is the way that it is with a full coverage. Obviously with a Mirabilia, if you put one in the wrong place, it could mess the whole lot up. But yeah, I've got to be honest, the Mirabilia is way up there. It's doing really quite well, considering that I've only done a portion of her and I'm already in love. So yeah, so I would say my favourite designs at the moment are Heaven and Earth design number 1 and Mirabilia is number 2. But then it's a little bit hard for me to say because I haven't really been that adventurous with my stitching, have I? I mean, I know I've done, currently one of my whips is the Twisted Band Sampler by Northern Expressions Needleworks. That's lovely, I love that one. But yeah, my heart really at the moment is sort of is all took up and mushy over Heaven and Earth designs and Mirabilia. Okay, so number 6. How do you get your ideas? How do you get your ideas or inspirations for your projects? Well, you've all seen pictures or you've all seen videos in my house now in various places, so you know I have very white walls. Part of the inspiration for my stitching is the fact that I do have white walls, and that these white walls need to be filled with beautiful pieces of artwork and beautiful stitching, which gives me the freedom really to sort of think outside the box and have just about any colour palette that I want, because my house is white, so I can have what I like. The ideas part of what I would like, what I think I would like, that comes from social media. Definitely you guys on FlossTube, I mean massively, you've had a massive influence on me, as has Instagram. The thing is, I mean, I don't know what it's like for you, but for me it's like there isn't anywhere where I can go and look at charts. And then when you do look at the charts, especially when you look at the charts online, they don't wow me. And how they look on the chart isn't necessarily how they are. So for instance, the Mirabilias, right? The Mirabilias, when I first saw them and everyone was talking about them, everyone was, you know, most people that I saw and most videos that I saw, people absolutely adored them. And they raved about them. But I've got to be honest, I looked at the charts online and was like, I don't really see what the fuss is about. I don't really think it's wowing me in any way, shape or form. Until I saw FlossTube videos of people's whips and finishes and Instagram pictures, and then I was like, oh wow. And it's not just wow, it's like wow. I mean, they were just amazing. I was in absolute awe, and I'm like, you can't tell me that piece that you've just done there and that you've showed me is the same thing that's on that picture, because the picture just doesn't sell it. And I'm tending to find that there's a trend there. You know, you can look at a chart online but until you see it stitched up or you see somebody else's whip, or you don't really sort of see it until then. I mean, I don't know, maybe if I had a shop close by where I could go and look at the charts, maybe they might look cuter, or I might be drawn more to them. But currently at the minute when I look online, there's nothing that really jumps out at me. There's, apart from obviously Heaven and Earth Designs, but that's because it's artwork. The Mirabilias, again, I mean, I used to look at those and I used to think, well, their faces don't look that great. And I don't really understand why everyone's sort of so excited by them. But then when you see them stitched up, absolutely outstanding. You know, completely different to the picture. So for me, the inspiration really comes from seeing other people's works in progress, stuff that's actually currently being worked on or finished, because how it stitches and how it looks on a pattern to me is two different things. And I'm the sort of person where if it wows me, I'll know it does, because I'll be like, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that a lot. You know, whereas some other things I can look at and I'll say, oh, it's nice, but I could take it or leave it. So yeah, that's how I tend to get my inspiration and the ideas is from you guys and Instagram. So next question, number 7. How do you store or keep your charts? Right, well, because I'm mainly Heaven and Earth Design girl, everything is PDF, so everything is online. I'm a little bit OCD with it, in the respect that I always have one copy on my Dropbox and one copy in my GoodNotes, just in case. Don't know why, but I'm always frightened that in the middle of a project, halfway through, that I'd lose it. Or, you know, if something broke and, I don't know, Dropbox went bust, that it wouldn't be there anymore, in which case I've got another copy. So, bit of a strange way of looking at it, but it does worry me. Especially with my GoodNotes, you know, you can imagine sort of having half the chart that you've done and it's highlighted online, like on your iPad, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, it crashed, and then, you know, everything that you had in your GoodNotes app is gone. I mean, that I would be devastated. And it's a bit like sort of on PCs when people sort of have their PDFs on their hard drive. I've had 2 PCs, I've had one laptop and two PCs basically die on me, and everything that was on there wasn't backed up, so it was completely and utterly lost, and I was devastated. So I can't imagine having to deal with something like that with my charts. So obviously, hence the reason why I've got it on Dropbox, because it's a bit like an iCloud. So, you know, worst case scenario, if all your devices break, you just get new devices and you install Dropbox, and it's all should be there as long as you've got your login. So that way it's like a bit of a safeguard for me. Paper ones, I haven't got any. It's quite shameful really, isn't it? But like I said to you, there's nowhere for me to get charts. I've not really seen any that have wowed me. The odd one or two that I've seen that I've got, they're basically kitted up, so they're in like little wallet envelopes ready to go. So I haven't actually got a stash of charts, which is really quite sad. I need to work on that. That's a work in progress. Okay, so number 8, do you stitch for yourself or to give to others? Well, obviously I have given 2 samplers. One is for my brother's wedding at the end of this month, and the other one was to my sister. I have to be honest, I like the idea of stitching more for myself, so that I can enjoy it. And I don't mind stitching for my immediate family, because I think it's appreciated more with my immediate family, because they'll understand, or that you know, they'd want to have whatever I've stitched for them, because I'm family. But for Joe Blogs and for other people, no, I don't think I would. Purely just based on the responses that I've had from some people. So sorry, as I was saying, there's a lot of people that knew me from the past, before I started stitching, that sort of disappeared off the face of the earth when I became ill. You know, you tend to find, you know, when they're off busy doing life stuff and, you know, going out partying and socialising, The sick person that's at home, they don't want to go around and see the sick person at home. They want to go out, which is, that's fine. I've not got a problem with that. But the one thing that did come to light was obviously because obviously my time was took up with stitching because I needed something, and that's the way that I've gone. Now that they've sort of, because I'm back on my feet, they're sort of back on the scene as such, although I'm not actually physically going out and about as yet. When they sort of say what you've been doing, they're like, well, what do you want to do that for? And I was like, well, because I like to do stitching. And then you show them and they're like, oh yeah. And they're like, oh dear. But when you get that type of response from them people, it tends to make you think, well, there's no way on God's green earth I'd give you anything as a present or stitch anything for you. I mean, I think if I knew someone was going to appreciate what I stitched for them, and they actually specifically said, oh, Teresa, would you stitch this for me? Because I'd really, really appreciate that, or I'd really like that. Then yeah, maybe I would, but to just stitch randomly for people, no, I don't think I would. I think I would be heartbroken or devastated if I knew that something I'd stitched for them as a present or as a surprise, that they just went, oh yeah, that's nice, knowing that they're not really liking it at all and that it's going to get thrown into the bottom of a wardrobe. No, I don't think I could. I'm not the sort of person that if I found out that they did that, wouldn't keep my mouth shut and just accept the fact that they didn't appreciate it. So yeah, no, definitely immediate family and myself only, unless I'm specifically asked by someone that I know will genuinely appreciate it. So number 8, no, done number 8. Number 9, when you take your cross-stitching projects in the car to appointments or travelling, how do you carry your supplies? I've not really tried this yet, have I? I took my stitching to the hospital with me, but that required me to stitch in hand or stitch one-handed, and it was an absolute disaster. I've got to be honest, it was terrible. I couldn't get my right hand to do what it would normally do when it's on two-handed. So it didn't go well, but what I did was basically use a little Q-snap and put it into like a little craft bag, along with my chart and my floss and stuff. But I don't think that's going to work for me going forward. So, I mean, obviously, I've got my seat stand, my hoop one. It is a lot more bulky than I would like, but I'm going to test it out on my commute into London next week. I've got like a little baby rucksack, sort of so big. So if I dismantle the hoop and then just put like a little bag of goodies in, like with the chart, I might give that a go and see how that goes, and then tweak it accordingly. But I haven't actually done it yet, so we'll wait and see on that one. And number 10, what do you enjoy most about stitching? I enjoy it all. Alright, I don't enjoy frogging. I don't enjoy that. But I enjoy the... If you'd have known me before I started stitching, you would never have said that I'm the same person. I'm I am so much more chilled now. I'm much more comfortable with just being chilled. I always used to be running around the house like a complete lunatic. Always busy, always out, always doing this, charging here, charging there. I never had a minute to myself. I probably did have a minute to myself, and I used to take it up with charging around some more. I mean, even I'm starting to think, my God, what was I like? Because now I'm so much more relaxed. There's no dramas, and even if there is dramas, I handle things in a much calmer way than I ever used to. Having a teenager is it's a stressful business, even if you are at work full time. In fact, it can actually put more stress on the relationship, because I have expectations when I come home from work that I don't want to find my house absolutely totaled because my lazy little teenager hasn't done any housework, or hasn't even cleaned up after herself. And it makes its own issues. But now, with my stitching and the fact that I'm a much more calmer individual and I'm much more chilled, and yeah, even when she's having a drama, I'm handling situations in a much calmer way than I would normally. I think the best part about stitching is not only is it changed my perspective, well, it's changed me as an individual for the better. But it's the feeling that, I did that. It's knowing that what you're doing will turn into something that you can look at forever, and think, I did that. I've accomplished that. That's my time. That's my effort. That's my stitching. That's my little piece of art. That's my, that's me. It's a feeling of accomplishment, but not just accomplishment. It's every stitch counts. It's like I did every single stitch on that, and I made that look like that. Okay, the framer, once he puts a frame on it, the framer makes it look like that. But it's your work. You've spent the time. That's your time, your effort, your perseverance, your determination, that you're going to make something that beautiful to be able to hang on a wall or turn into something and have it as a something that you can be proud of, so that when someone goes, oh, that's unique, that's different, and it's like, yeah, I did that. It's having that moment. But by far, what do you enjoy most about stitching? What isn't there to enjoy about stitching? But I think the best part of stitching is that last stitch. The very last one, when that's it, I'm done. And then you can stand back from it and go, I love that. I'm so proud and I'm so pleased I did that, with its ups, with its downs, with its, oh my God, what is it doing? Because there's always a bit of that with every project. But no, that very last stitch is just, it's got to be the best feeling in the world. I got so excited when I finished Faces. And even now, whenever I sort of walk around in the house, she's there, she's looking at me, she's staring at me, and every time I look at her, it's that sense of achievement, that sense of, I did that. It's not something that was bought. It's not just a bit of art that I've bought and I've thought, oh yeah, I like that. That's my hard work. That's my time, my effort, and I'm proud of myself for actually achieving that. So yeah. Okay, so that's it. So that's Cat's Crazy Creations tag. I think that's enough, because I've talked for England. So I hope you got a lot of stitching done whilst I was gas bagging along there. As I said to you all, I will do another video. I have got some haul coming, but until it's all here, I don't want to do a whole video, and I've got some goodies to show you. So when I do that, I will do a whip update at the same time. So anyway, have a lovely weekend all, and a happy stitchy weekend. And hopefully you're having as good a weather as we're supposed to have here in the UK this weekend. So if I'm really lucky, not only will I get lots of stitching done, but I'll also be able to go out in the garden this weekend. So anyway, thank you for listening to me rambling, and I will catch you all later. Happy stitching all. Bye.